Hi everyone, and welcome to a segment on chess tips. For today's tip of the day, we're going to talk about how the king is a fighting piece. So the king typically plays various roles in a chess game. Typically in the opening, he is a very cautious person trying to figure out whether he should castle kingside or queenside, or whether not to castle. In the middle game, he's obviously a more timid piece where he typically stays away from contact between pieces. But then in the end game, the king transforms himself to actually a piece of value and a piece that influences the assessment of the position based on its location. The more pieces that are exchanged, the greater the value of the king. And Mikhail Tal used to have a rule of thumb that he used to say that the value of the king was 3 pawns in an endgame, or in a position where you're basically assessing the value of the king in terms of, the assessment of the position. So having said that, this is a position from a game played between Alekhine and Yates back in London 1922, and the game continued with king to f2, basically activating the king, bringing the only piece that's not optimally placed. So this is excellent positional chess. As you can see, the knight has a favorable square on e5. The rook on c5 the rooks are basically favorably placed on the c file, dominating basically the only open file on the board. And so now we're going to improve the positioning of the king so that we could have all our pieces ideally placed, and then we could possibly target some weaknesses and eventually win a game. So the game continued king to h7. Now white played h4, preventing any expansion on the king side, and also threatening h5, rook f8, king g3. Now the king is trying to head towards the e5 square. Rook fb8, rook c7, targeting the g7 pawn, bishop e5, rook 1 c5, simply improving the positioning of our rook. Bishop a6, rook 5 to c6, rook e8, king f4, improving the positioning of our king. King g8, h5, basically creating a bind on the king side, and also allowing the knight to be placed on g6, bishop f1, and g3, a nice defensive move. Bishop a6, rook f7, king h7, rook cc7. We've basically improved every single piece in our position, from the pawns to the heavy pieces and the knight. Rook g8, knight d7, king h8, knight f6, rook gf8. And now a nice tactical combination. Rook takes g7, and after rook takes f6, king e5, and that's the end of the game. And this is a beautiful example of how the king victoriously entered the game on move 24 and concludes the game on move 38 by threatening to capture the rook on f8. And obviously, if the rook moves back, or if it's defended by the other rook, then black is checkmated in 2 moves.